Let's talk about the unsung hero of punctuation, that tiny little dot we use all the time but maybe don't think too much about, the period. You see, by the time we're done here, you're going to see it not just as a stop sign, but as one of the most powerful tools you have for making your writing clear and strong.
So here's the game plan. We're going to kick things off with the why, the 4 secret powers of the period. Then we'll get into its 2 main jobs, tackle those tricky spots like quotes and parentheses, see where else it pops up, and, this is a big one, learn when to just leave it out.
All right, first things first, why is this little dot such a heavyweight? Well, it's about so much more than just ending a sentence. It's really about controlling how your reader actually feels and understands your ideas.
So yeah, the official definition says it's a full stop. But think about what that really means. It's a signal to your reader that says, hey, pause for a second. Let that idea sink in before you move on. It's how we create rhythm in our writing.
In these 4 powers, they all work together. That simple pause, it creates emphasis. And when things are emphasized, you get clarity. With clarity, your whole text becomes more organized, and all of that leads to your meaning being absolutely, perfectly clear. See how that works?
Okay, so let's get down to the period's 2 most important jobs. I mean, if you get these 2 down, you've pretty much nailed the fundamentals of a clear sentence.
It really boils down to this: declarative sentences and imperative sentences. On one hand, you're making a statement, just declaring a fact. On the other, you're giving a command. And in both situations, that period at the end gives the sentence a quiet kind of authority.
So here's a classic example of a declarative sentence. It's just a statement of fact. Simple, straightforward, no drama, no questions, just information with a nice, clean stop at the end.
And then there's its partner, the imperative. This is an instruction, plain and simple. That period gives the command a sense of firmness. It's not a suggestion, It's a direction.
All right, let's wade into the tricky stuff. This is the part that trips up a lot of people, even writers who've been doing it for years. What happens when the period has to play nice with other punctuation, like quotes and parentheses?
Let's make this super simple. Here is the golden rule for quotes in American English, and you never, ever break it. The period always goes inside the closing quotation mark. Every single time, no exceptions.
See how that works? The period is tucked safely inside, right before that last quotation mark. It feels a little weird because the period is for the whole sentence, but trust me, this is the rule. It always stays inside. Now, parentheses, they're a bit of a different story. You have to ask yourself one question. Is the stuff inside the parentheses just a little side comment, or is it a whole separate sentence that could stand on its own? Okay, look at this first one. The little note, there will be a quiz, it's not a full sentence, right? It's just an extra piece of info. So, the period waits patiently until the entire thought is over, and then it goes at the very end.
But here, it's completely different. The part in the parentheses is a full sentence all by itself. Make sure to make a reservation soon. It has its own punctuation and everything. So, because it's a complete thought, it gets its own punctuation inside the parentheses.
So, the period is more than a one-trick pony. Let's dive into the other hats it wears. It's not just about ending sentences, it's a handy little tool for abbreviations and keeping things organized. I mean, you see this stuff everywhere, right? It tells you a word has been shortened, like doctor becoming DR. It breaks up initials so they're easy to read. And of course, it makes numbered lists look neat and tidy.
Okay, this might be the most important part. To really master the period, you have to know when not to use it. Seriously, adding a period where it doesn't belong can look just as messy as leaving one out.
So here's your do not use it list. Titles and headings? Nope, keep them clean. Bullet points? Don't need them. And if your sentence already ends with a question mark or an exclamation point, they've already done the job. You don't need 2 stop signs. And incomplete sentences or fragments, well, they don't get a full stop. For abbreviations, the modern rule is actually pretty straightforward. Old school traditional ones like etc. or IE, they still get a period. But for most acronyms like NASA and for units of measure like km or lb, you leave the period out. And for our final don't do it rule, the ellipsis. You know, those 3 little dots? Think about it. They already signal a pause or a thought trailing off. They're already doing the period's job. Adding a 4th dot is just wrong. 3 is all you need. So in the end, it all comes down to the power of one. One tiny little mark that brings order to our chaos of words. It creates space, it gives ideas weight, and it makes sure that what you want to say is actually what gets heard.
And really, that's the big takeaway here, isn't it? Of course, writing is about big ideas, but what separates good writing from great writing is mastering the little things. And the period proves, without a doubt, that sometimes the smallest marks on the page are the ones that make all the difference.